Hi there, my name is Dan, and welcome back to All One, the United Anatomy of Being. This is actually the beginning of part 2, called The Mind, the Language of the Body, which could also be said differently as the separating energy level, the language of the physical level. So this is episode 24, and it's called Why Learn More? So some truths of the universe have been explained and demonstrated from what humans do know or have learned over the centuries, really, to explain and demonstrate some truths of the universe and our being that we do not really know, at least with any proof or certainty, or at least in any human critical mass. And there are and have been many individuals throughout the ages, meditators, mystics, and philosophers, and even tribal societies that have self-discovered or realized the truths of the heart and soul levels and have connected to and recognized one thing as the source of everything. As already explained or briefly introduced, even humans' most ubiquitous religions were born from an exploration into the heart and soul levels with the same discoveries of truth, from Zarathustra of Zoroastrianism to Jesus Christ of Christianity to Muhammad of Islam to the Buddha to Nanak Dev of Sikhism to the Jains and Rishis of India to Moses and even Abraham, to name a few notables, and of course there are many more. An exploration into increasing consciousness of the heart and soul levels is certainly required to discover these truths, because the two tools we have most developed as humans to date, the body and the mind, are simply not the tools for increasing awareness or perceiving truths of the unchanging, non-physical level of being. But with further development beyond the mind, into the heart or feeling center, perception of and connection to the more subtle and higher levels of our existence and their truths is entirely possible. And any and every human being has the complete capability to achieve this. And ultimately, why does any of this matter? What happens if we gain awareness of the body, mind, heart, and soul instead of perhaps just the body and the mind? Would it make any difference in our lives if we had consciousness of the whole story instead of just the half? Why is any of this important, and why should anyone care about expanding their own consciousness? Well, there will be more detail on this explained really throughout the rest of the series. Most particularly in the final section. But generally, the answers are quite simple, with great potential benefit to both the individual and the collective human species, including, but not limited to, increased acceptance and tolerance of each other or anything, decreased stress, improved health, increased cooperation, increased equality, decreased selfishness, increased probability of successful long-term existence of the species and the natural world, and ultimately, and maybe most importantly, increased happiness. Like the shift of a seesaw, increased consciousness leads to an overall shift from separation, fear, confusion, frustration, and unhappiness to union, understanding, acceptance, love, and unshakable bliss. To understand and accept this possibility, though, there really is much more to explore about being human. How our minds and heart centers operate as the perceptual tools of separating and uniting energies, and how this relates to our existence on the physical level and our understanding of the soul level. As an example, no one will work to expand their consciousness just because they're advised to or told to do so. Similarly, no one would engage in the work of the planting season and the patience of the growing season if they were not conscious or aware that there can be a wonderful harvest. No athlete would train hard if they were not aware that there would be great benefit to their strength, speed, agility, endurance, and overall performance. If one is unaware of the benefit, the effort to achieve the benefit is very unlikely to occur unless more is learned to understand it and appreciate it. The remarkable difference, though, and we're going to, again, continue to explore this, particularly in the final section of this series, but the remarkable difference between obtaining benefit in the two examples I just mentioned of agriculture or athletic exercise compared to obtaining benefit from connection and consciousness to the whole of your being in all its levels is that the physical benefits in the above examples, the previous examples, require effort, work, action, time, and patience. To obtain any benefit from increasing your consciousness requires only time, patience, and inaction. But more on that later. First, to truly understand why any of this matters at all, we must better understand the mind level, where we are now, how we got here, and ultimately where we are heading. So in this part, really over the next, I think, 14 episodes, we will be discussing energy and human perception, more details on the mind, including the actual biology of the brain. I'll be using the seasons to start to demonstrate where we are in our natural arcing trajectory as a species. We'll then be using our levels of being to further demonstrate that. And then we'll provide an educated suggestion on where we are as a human species, which is really quite optimistic. I will be discussing how we got here, really since entering the mind level or mind level dominance as a human species. I'll be discussing a very, very brief history of human development. I'll also be discussing the nature really of life, and then how human nature has developed since entering the mind level. And we'll talk about individualism, inequality, and fear, the major mental thought drivers of memory, perception, perspective, values, belief, and vision. And then we'll really end with a brief discussion on the psyche, dreams, and the human need to understand. I can assure you that this part and really the remaining series will feel much easier to understand. Part one of trying to articulate the non-level being admittedly is not easy. Hopefully you did gain some understanding, but it's going to become even clearer as we further discuss the mind level and then the heart level. So thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.